Come on in, you guys will just have to stand up. If somebody already has a spot on the table, you're just gonna have to stand up for a minute. I'm gonna be doing pinstriping with the brush. You kind of see what Blast does. You guys are gonna be getting a brush and he's gonna be showing you how to do it.
Honestly, my first word wasn't mom or dad, it was car. You know, my dad always had some side job out in the front yard doing some type of paint and body, and you know, just grew up around it. When I opened my shop, I was 18 and did my first lowrider. Once I did my first lowrider, it was just, you know, it was a way to express yourself. It was more like art versus just doing body work and paint. You know, it was truly a way to express yourself. I mean, there's nothing like it, nothing like a lowrider. And once I really started figuring it out, I was still in that stage where, you know, all of us, we were still innovating new styles at that time. Not all things had been done. So, you know, even with me, I tried every single car, I tried to give it like a unique, different style. I tried, you know, some were square patterns, some were twisting, some were, you know, S patterns, some were old school, some were, I mean, just super crazy. You know, each car had a different theme. Well, I definitely tried to stay humble, but yeah, I would say I was definitely in that time of, you know, a lot of people would always say, you know, a lot of my style was, you could always tell my style. Well, I would say CandyPaint came still. That would be like the late 60s. And that would be more like in the hot rod scene. You know, just at that time, things were being innovated. I mean, you got to think just even like the lace and like all the techniques that they used inside the paint jobs. All of those things, the late 60s, 70s. You know, I'm 14 years clean now for meth. So back then, you know, you had the party scene, and me, instead of the party scene, it was me, the meth, the tape, and whatever car I was working on. And of course, you know, like my kids, home life, you know, was at the worst. A lot of people used to be like, man, he's probably a millionaire, got all this money, all this stuff, and it is absolutely wrong. You know, I was still in electricity. Same thing with the water. You know, they'd come turn it off, we'd turn it on. So you got to think, like, at the top of my game, we're talking centerfolds and lowrider, but home life was really low. You say your kids are first, but they're absolutely not. You know, the meth is first. You know, you got all these other priorities, and, you know, of course, they are absolutely not first. But then, you know, when you're threatened to not have your kids around and those things like that, it's like it kind of gives you a different perspective. You know what I mean? You know, I tell people, like Lowrider Magazine, I say you ought to take away all my, you know, best paint awards from the Vegas shows, because you got to think, who can compete against somebody that's working 150 hours a week versus somebody that's working 40 hours a week. You know, if you only knew how much time I wasted in a week trying to, like, tweaking, trying to come up with like little innovation chairs that would hold a spray gun, but it's all just taped, and like crazy meth, you know, crazy meth things. So a lot of time is wasted. Been in trouble quite a few times, relapsed quite a few times. And finally, the last time I said I'd had it, you know, I'm sick of this life. I'm grateful that I'm still even alive. Right when I got clean, I wasn't even a paint again. I was like, I don't want to be around none of this, none of these people that's associated with this. And one of my friends, Bo, his son had just died from an overdose. They found him with a needle in his arm. And he was like, Rob, I want you to paint my son's car like a memorial to him. In the midst of that, doing that, met my spiritual father at that shop. He was a manager at that shop. Bo ended up, after I did that, he said, hey, I'll give you a safe place to work for free. Gave me the back garage for free. I surrounded around a bunch of godly people. So it was a real encouragement. Straighten this out. Well, of course, this program started, it's a team effort. You know, my brother Eric Arazo from Kansas started it. Of course, he's probably going on about 9 years now. You know, we ended up starting one here, you know, started with like 12 people. You know, last year we had 24, and then now we have 60 this year. So it's definitely a blessing. It's the city believing in a vision too. With the Lowrider Bike Program, the Lowrider Bike is just a tool to get the kids here. A lot of the mentors on my side, you know, come from a crazy past too. So you got to think some of these kids can relate. You know, you can see some anger in some of these kids, you know, unforgiveness, bitterness, and those things. And, you know, if we can be here to even just be an ear to listen, to encourage them in the right direction, I mean, that's really what it's about.
Because you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You know, doing the t-shirts, something that they can do, just simple, some Krylon, some stencils, shirt from Hobby Lobby with their own name, and they're like, I did this is something unique. With Blast, the pinstriping, them being able to put a brush in their hand and try to do the pinstriping.
Put your finger right here, and just kind of get your finger out just a little bit like that.
With JR with the leather work, so they're taking home something that they created themselves, which you don't see a lot of that no more. Man, gonna make me cry. Man, she's a huge help. Let me tell you, she's like my best friend. Me and her, ever since she was born, had a unique connection. You know what I mean? And she just loves this whole life too. So it's like, you know, something she really loves to do too. She's just a bright and shiny light. You know what I mean? She brings life to everything that you know is kind of going on. You know, if people are saying what an awesome class, they're always mentioning me and always mentioning her. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, so just a awesome team. You know what I mean? Well, we're just hoping the program's going to continue to grow. You know, it's back to that. You know, we're just trying to pass on, you know, the whole lowrider culture. So we're just, like I say, we want to just ignite something in these kids, building the bike, and at the end of the year, you know, they get to go show it at the lowrider show. And just to show, you know, it's like I did this, and to see the, you know, the patterns, the colors, all the things, to see them kind of light up is just, you know, that's what it's all about. So trying to plant seeds in all these kids, you know, and especially a program like this, you know, you got Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, things like that. But, you know, to have a lowrider bike after school program where these kids are learning how to do paint, patterns, prep, fabrication, pinstriping, leather, a bunch of cool stuff. So